Yeah, it's that time again. It's Monday. That means it's time for a Meldon Law Monday with all the crazy things happening this weekend in college football. Firings, teams getting beat badly, etc. It's still the greatest game in the world. And there's a lot of rumors and speculations about coaches out there. We'll share some of them tonight with you. Shane Matthews will be here shortly. We'll also be talking to Coach John Brantley from Trinity Catholic about his latest honor. And Franz Beard, the Iron Duke, will join us tonight in the program, as he always does on Mondays, because the Buddy Martin Show is now officially on the air.
Time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind, because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Law Monday, I am Buddy Martin. The program is heard 4 and sometimes 5 days or nights a week. We're changing some of the scheduling in the near future. Join the program tonight for commiseration or celebration, whatever your game is, and let's get together and talk about what's next for these Florida Gators. All kinds of things happening, obviously. Lots and lots of news out there about coaches, lots and lots of stories, and some unsubstantiated stories about players in the transfer portal. It will be hit hard, no doubt about it, in these next few weeks. And Franz Beard had a good column on our website today, GatorBaitMedia.com. If you haven't subscribed to it, go to GatorBaitMedia.com and sign up and see what people are talking about. Franz talking about some of the things that are going to happen, and there are going to be lots of names going to the portal the other way. I don't know how many, but Franz threw a number out there. I don't know, whatever, 15, 20 different players. And it's moving season. You know, there's talking season, there's moving season. And moving season means there are going to be players moving around. Didn't like what they had this year, got a better deal on the other side. I get it. It's fine. I'm trying to hold it together tonight a little bit. Maybe you can help me. To talk about some sanity. Because there currently is none out here tonight. When a program like Texas A&M can eat $76 million to get rid of Jimbo Fisher, what has happened to this sport? That used to be an entire budget for a program. I don't know. It's gotten way out of hand. The day of reckoning will come, and the values are being a little distorted. But this is how it is. You don't win, you go. Now, we've seen, obviously, Zach Arnett has been fired at Mississippi State. Lots of rumors about Dan Mullen going back there. I don't know any more than you do about it. And, of course, Jimbo. And there will be other heads to roll, perhaps Sam Pittman, who will be next. There already were 2 fired, so that makes 4. So we're going to have a lot of firings this year and a lot of movement. And it means every time somebody gets fired, somebody else comes in, there's change. Change is not always bad, and actually the transfer portal itself is not a bad thing. But the containment of this program and the ability to use it the right way, it's another story. I don't know how I feel about it. I've tried to take a breath here and try to think about what's next. But all I can say to you is I'm trying to deal with it my own way. I've got a column on GatorBaitMedia.com now about how to deal with these next few weeks and months, because it's not going to be a happy holiday season for most Gator fans. Already isn't. The likelihood of them winning a game is pretty low. This will be the 3rd straight losing season. And someone told me today, I didn't realize this, that if Billy loses the next 2 games, he'll have lost 14 games. It took Steve Spurrier 7 seasons to lose that many games. I know it's not fair to compare Spurrier and Napier. Actually, I'm coming down on the side of Billy a little bit here tonight because I don't know what change you could make that would really have any effect that would that would really change things. I've heard a lot of people say, people that I know well are connected saying, fire them all. And I get the frustrations, but I've got another view of that. I'm going to talk about it tonight. And sometimes when you say, back off, let me think this over, let me think about what I want to do. And it's, what are you in this for? Are you in here for the wins? Yeah, you like to see them win, but sometimes it's just, I don't know. I just don't have the answers. Let's go do this. Let's go to the man who does have the answers on his program this morning, and Pot Up with Matthews. He and JC were chopping it up, and let's see what Shane Matthews has to say. Good evening to you, Shane.
What's happening, buddy?
Apparently a lot, right? Apparently a lot. Could you believe that anybody would ever get paid $76 million not to coach football?
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal, man. A lot of coaches have made a lot of money to get fired. It's crazy business to be in.
I'm trying to gain some perspective on it as a fan. Never mind to be a media guy. But how do you salvage something out of this year and say, how do you learn to enjoy what we enjoy, which is, of course, the great game of college football, without being so full of angst and anger and worried about it, whatever. It's a lot. The volatility of the game is taking a lot of the joy out of it, Shane. And I don't know, you kind of have a little different opinion about it, but my brother called by saying, you know what, maybe it's time to say, what do you want out of this? Lower your expectations. Say, what do you want out of this, and how long you're willing to wait? Apparently, some people are not willing to wait very long, especially out of College Station, Shane.
It is what it is. I thought we'd be a much better team. I still think we have a pretty good offense. I think it could be a little bit better, but I don't lose any sleep over it. There's not anything that you can do about it, buddy. There's nothing I can do about it. You just got to go out and play, and you never know. I think we can beat Florida State. They don't impress me at all.
Mm-hmm.
They've been very fortunate. They haven't played well. I think Missouri's a really good football team. So you just approach these games, go try to win them, and see what happens.
Kind of what I wrote today, my column yesterday, actually, about lowering your expectations. And as I said, you don't want to run out there and stay away from high ledges or put away the sharp objects or worry about what may happen over the holidays. And you want to have some gusto with football season, but your attitude adjustments are needed. And Shane, you already had yours to have a happy holidays. And I think my first suggestion I wrote is you don't hate on these Gator players and coaches, frustrating as it may be. You should hold them accountable for what they've done, like a losing season, now the third straight, and not all under Billy, obviously. No bowl this season. Pick the parts you want to salvage from 2023. There were some moments. Beating Tennessee was one of them, for instance. Have been a lot of them. I've also come to the conclusion that the off-season changes are imminent. There better be some changes. There'll be some coaching changes for sure. We have 100 guys, and not one. You still can't name your defensive, your special teams coach. I know you don't have a problem with that. I do. And then I do appreciate this team's work ethic, your willingness to fight, their comportment. They haven't been in trouble off the field, and I think it's something you can build on if they give you time. Shane, will Billy get time?
Oh, I don't have that answer. We don't make any of those decisions. I think he's going to have plenty of time personally. I do think he's got to make some changes on his coaching staff, and got to go find some better players at certain positions. But it's like I said on Steve Russell's show, there's not a dang thing that anybody listening to your show or me or you could do about it, buddy.
I agree.
Just like politics, all you can do is go vote, and then whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I agree with you, but not everybody's that way, obviously. So I think, look, I want to say something that may not resonate with some people. You don't have to like the team or the result. I like the effort they gave out against LSU. Some things I saw in that game. Defense was terrible. Couldn't tackle, a big
No, but
shot.
here, nobody has tackled Jalen Daniels all year
That's
long.
my next point. But don't feel like you're the Lone Ranger. He's been untackleable, if that was the word. He did, of course, set the all-time yardage record. Yeah. But does that mean their defense is a failure? I don't know that it does. I do like the effort. I saw a couple of things I liked. But, first of all, Khalil Jackson's diving catch, which I still think was a catch, was a tremendous effort. That kid just put it out. He just reached out and caught that ball. I didn't see the bobble. Maybe there was one, but I thought his effort was magnificent. He got nothing out of it, right? Another thing that happened one time was it Montreal got run off the sideline in the bench? Was that who it was, Montreal? Oh, it was. Either him or Etienne. I believe Montreal. And I saw Richie, what's the offensive lineman, was over there among all the LSU guys. He was doing this, screening him out and looking out after his fellow player. I like that. I think there's a certain amount of bonding that's going on with his team. Whether it's going to be enough to get him over the hump, I don't know. But I think, and I also have a hard time saying that Billy Napier ought to be fired. I read this tweet tonight, and I kind of appreciate it. I don't know the person who wrote it. I want Billy Napier to be successful, not just because he's the Gator head coach, because I believe him to be a good and decent man. I also know this being good and decent man doesn't make a man a great football coach. Hope he can set the Gators on the right path. Go Gators. I think that's a great attitude for a fan, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Billy's a good coach. I just think Billy needs help with the other people that wear headsets.
Some have said, I don't care how many assistants you got, if you haven't got the quality of the guys that you need to have. The guys who are called analysts, 90 strong, some of them are not dietitians and whatever. We talked about this. Can you name one or two of them? And I put that challenge today to a really well-known Florida personality that you know. He said, no, he couldn't. And you and I had that test last week, I think. Can you name one? Maybe one. Is it say something about the quality of the analysts he's hiring, Shane?
I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about the analysts, buddy. Every team has them now. It's basically to take some of the grunt work off the position coaches so they can do their job. If there's 25 wide receivers, the analysts that help the wide receivers kind of break it down and say, okay, we're going to, instead of the coach having to watch all 25 receivers, they cut it down to about 10 or 5. And then that's what my understanding is. Like I said, I think Billy's a really good football coach. I think he's more organized than people. I know it hasn't shown in some capacity, but that to me, it's on the head coach. But I don't think people realize how much assistant coaches are part of game day operations. Everybody wants to blame everything on Billy. But for example, we got a horrible delay of game with about 2 minutes to go in the second half when it was 17-14. We stopped and we got the ball back. But we get a delay of game because we're on the sideline. We don't break the sideline, and I'm hollering on the air, we got to hurry up. We hadn't left the sideline, and there was like 15 seconds left on the play clock. We get a delay of game. There's somebody over there that should be paying attention to that. It's like that's not even my job, but it's a natural thing that I look at the 25-second play clock on every damn play.
Right.
But out of all the analysts and all the guys with headsets on should be telling Billy, let's go. That's not his responsibility. He's the play caller. It's not his responsibility. So I don't know if I even answered your question. I don't even remember what it was, buddy. But
well, I think we're talking about assistant coaches, the role they play, and they certainly do. Here's the thing I say, the basics. Every other team I see, they have a guy over there, the get back coach, they have a guy on special teams doing this every time, like counting heads. You don't see that in Florida for some reason. I've not seen a guy counting. At least he may have done it, but you don't see it as visibly as you do. The basics of lining up, the basics of getting the right number of players, getting out of the huddle, getting a game delay, coming out of a quarter, and a new set of downs, getting a delay of a game. That just can't happen. It's sloppy. It's not tidy. It's not something most coaches would tolerate. I can't understand why Billy can't get that fixed.
Well, like I told you, I think that's the responsibility of all the other offensive coaches, because he's the play caller. He's in the huddle going over with Mertz or the O-line saying, this is what we're going to do. Ball's going to be on the left hash. We're going to run this play right here, giving them little pointers and tips. Somebody else on the coaching staff is saying, hey, coach, let's go. We got to go. They've already started the 40-second clock. Mm-hmm. But obviously that's not happening. I don't know. I'm not on the sideline. I'm just going by what I see.
I understand. That's all I'm asking you, your professional opinion, what you've seen and what goes on. So, I mean, it's not a disaster, right? It's not a disaster, but it's sure a lot of mistakes being made. And let's be honest, they have limited personnel. Now, scoring that many points, probably 36 and 35, ought to be enough to win a game, I would think. But on the other hand, you're talking about a juggernaut in LSU and Jaden Daniels. You said the offense is not the problem. Is really Austin Armstrong the guy? And I had a well-known guy ask me today. They said, why do we hire all these young coaches 30 years old, when you got defensive coordinators around the league who are 60 and whatever? Can they really call a game? They should be a linebacker coach or whatever. Do you agree with that?
Maybe a little bit. There might be some truth to that, but again, what do we know? Billy may have tried to hire the top defensive coordinator in America, and he said no. He may have gone to his second choice, and he said no. We don't know. Look, it goes back to what I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 years. Our interior guys in the front four on defense and offense, and basically our entire front seven on defense is not top-notch SEC play. And we got to get bigger and stronger and more physical at all those areas in the offensive line.
I don't know how you get those players, but I know one thing. I know when they change coaches, a lot of times coaches bring players with them. Obviously, they haven't got enough of them. Let's talk about some of the changes. Let's talk about Jimbo. Did you ever feel like when he first got there, Jimbo was going to be successful?
I thought so. I mean, Jimbo won a national title at Florida State. Mm-hmm. He had a really good quarterback that he kind of rode the coattails. Mm-hmm. Look, A&M, I don't know if it's one of the top jobs in America. I mean, from a monetary standpoint, yes, it may be the number one. They have all the resources, but buddy, they've never won anything. I don't even know. I think they may have won some Southwest Conference championships back in the day.
Bear Bryant won a national championship there.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, if we want to go back to the 50s or whenever that was.
That never's a long time. I know what you're saying. Not recently, yes. You're right.
Yeah. So, and whoever they hire, I don't know if he's going to win anything with them. They've won nothing since they've been in the SEC.
Right. Which proves money won't buy you a championship.
It's true. But money gets a lot of players these days.
I didn't say that. I'm saying you can't buy a championship, though. We've seen that with the New York Yankees. We've seen it with other teams, and certainly Texas A&M. Now they're in a bad spot because things change when Texas goes to the SEC next year, and they're sitting there. It's really going to be they're making a proactive move, and somebody pointed out today that they said the new coach will be intact before December the 4th. What's December 4th? Portal is open. So they're hunting. They got to get some players in there, and they got to get some. And they'll probably get some. So, who would be a good fit for Texas A&M in your opinion?
I haven't really thought about it. I don't really know, buddy. I don't think anybody out there is going to go win a national championship at Texas A&M.
I got a name for you.
What's that?
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I could see Lane going there, but I don't think they still ain't going to win the West.
Now, I'm saying that, I'm saying in terms of who they're going to hire. I don't know who, but I'm just saying that they got to go after a name person. And you get right down. I was talking to the HBC today about if I was hiring coaches right now and I had an open job, a top job, who would I go and get? He and I couldn't come up with a name. And was hireable, you know?
Yeah, that's my point. Like I'm a big believer that the once in a lifetime coaches, they're not a million of them out.
Right, exactly. We're seeing that. It's been proven now that these guys don't fall off the back of turnip trucks, you know. Certainly with Urban and Steve, which, by the way, just to plug it again, sometime in April, we're going to have both Urban and Steve together at a special evening of greatness, talking about their experiences at Florida, how they did it, telling stories for charity. It'll be announced soon. Freddie Weeby's on it, and Urban and Steve have agreed to do that. It's going to be a great night at the Spurs Gridiron Grill. All right, so, all right, your friend Kerwin Bell is still out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you think he's a good coach.
He's as good as I've ever been around.
And why wouldn't he get one of these jobs? Why would Mississippi State go after Kerwin Bell?
I can't answer that. Maybe they will. I don't know. Yeah. He's a good one, though.
Yeah. All right, give me. I'm gonna give you a blank checkbook. You're the head coach at Tennessee. I don't care. And you're gonna go hire a coach. Who would you go after?
Who would I hire?
Yeah.
I mean, well, what school are we at?
Well, I said Tennessee. It could be Florida if you want to. I don't care. You're going to hire a top-notch coach.
Billy's not going anywhere. I think just Billy's fine. He just needs to.
Well, then name a school. That's just to name any key school.
Well, who I would hire because I know he's won everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be. It would be a great hire for some Florida fans. Some wouldn't like it. I would hire Kerwin.
Okay. All right. I made a list of people today. I was hard pressed to say if Billy would quit or get fired, whatever, which I don't think he will. And I don't think he should. Who would you go after? You're not going to like my choices in some cases. Kerwin's on that list. Deion Sanders is also on that list.
Oh, God, Lord, no, buddy.
Well, I mean, he's a hot commodity.
No, he's not. Nobody's going to fire him.
All right, this is my list, okay? And my list, you can make yours. Lance Leopold's on everybody's list at Kansas. I don't know if he got coach or not, but he sure has gotten great results. I like Mike Elko, what he's done at Duke.
Well, I do too, but he's lost 4 games in a row.
I understand that, but he still is. You asking me for names of people. I'm asking you for names. No, there's nobody out there undefeated I know that you can hire right now.
What had to do about undefeated? You're asking me who would I hire to win a national championship?
I said, who would you hire? You said Kerwin Bell.
That's it.
All right, let's ask this guy right here. He probably agree with you. You know this guy. He used to play a position you played. And he definitely would hire Kerwin Bell. My man John Brantley joins the program tonight for a special occasion. JB, how you doing?
Buddy, how are you tonight?
I'd be better if I get you in my frame here. Move to your left, Subway. Keep going to the left. Yeah, all right. We'll get you at some point. Yeah, JB, I got him on tonight for a couple of reasons. That's good right there. A couple of reasons. First of all, 2 great Florida quarterbacks, but here's the deal. This guy just got inducted into the MCYFL Hall of Fame, which is the youth league here in Ocala, produced so many great players. John coached in that league one time. Of course, he coaches at Trinity, won the chip, as they say, and he's going to be honored this Saturday. And John, I remember once, I want you to tell Shane what a good play caller I am. When I called a play for you, and you went for a touchdown. Remember that? Fade route?
That was over Joey Sorrentino, too. He was a former Gator and everything.
Joey's a good man.
No, I'll never forget that. That was one Saturday afternoon. You came over there and watched little Johnny throw it there as a 5th grader. And that was the start of my coaching career.
Yeah.
People don't realize, buddy, I didn't start coaching. I was 42 years old.
Yeah.
So
Well, Shane
you
was.
can still do it. Shane, you
I
can
was
still do it.
I was 38ish when I started coaching.
Yeah. Well, the HBC wasn't head coach at Florida until he was, what, 45, right? Like that?
Yep.
40, I think, right?
No, he was older than that, as head coach.
Was he?
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, you know who his first quarterback was, don't you?
Yeah, that guy.
That guy right there, yeah. You imagine that? Yeah.
It could only get better after that.
Yeah, I would say it did. And, of course, what he loved about it was when Steve invited him up to the office to have a beer after practice. That was new to him. Hey, let's talk about Florida football real quick, and I want to get John to tell me about his Trinity Catholic team playing for the regional this week. Having a great year. You've seen it from afar, JB. We're chopping it up here with Shane. What's going on up there in Gainesville? And if you were going to hire any coach right now, if you had all the money you could hire to hire him, who would you hire?
Well, buddy, I wouldn't. I would. I think Coach Napier needs to have his time. I don't. It's tough today to put anything together. I know everybody's putting a lot of merit in the portal and everything with that, but you got to give the man the time to put his thing together, his program together, get his players in there that he wants to make it happen and give him a chance. I mean, and all you have to do is look up there in the Panhandle. And Coach Norvell didn't get it. He didn't get off to a great start in his first 2 years. And I tell you what, he's done a lot of good things here in the last 2 years. So it didn't happen overnight for him. And not to use FSU as an example, but he has done a nice job up there. And I think Coach Napier deserves the same.
Tell me about the award on Saturday. It's going to be a highlight. Your dad helped start that league.
Well, we did. Scott and I, my brother, moved down. We moved to Ocala from Greenville, South Carolina back in 1970. And we'd already 2 or 3 years of tackle football up in South Carolina. And came down here in Ocala, didn't have any football programs. And they had just cut out middle school football, just due to the financial situation in middle school and supporting that. So Dad got with some business people and started with 5 teams out at Booster Stadium. 6th through 8th graders, no weight limit, no red caps, no nothing. And it's grown now to what it is today, 2 fields over there, 32 teams. I was there the other night. They had their cheerleading competition, over 500 young ladies out there competing for the cheer competition. Wow. And that program's just going, it's just finished its 53rd year. So real tribute to everybody over there. It does a nice job.
For sure. Congratulations to you. Tell us real quick who you go against this weekend for Trinity for the district.
Well, we got Holy Trinity coming over here from Melbourne. That'll be round 1 for us. It's basically now 4 games. I know you mentioned we're having a great season and everything. I wish we could say that, but our record doesn't indicate that. But I can tell you we've probably played the best competition in this state, even outside the state, playing St. Xavier up in Cincinnati. Yeah. So we've seen Key West, some great down teams. To Key West too, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, played Key West in the kickoff classic, but we've played Clearwater Central Catholic, who's probably going to play for a state championship. We played Florida High. They're going to compete for a state championship. Jacksonville Reign, and then Buchholz at the end of the year is probably the best team we've seen all year. And Coach Bell and them have done a nice job over there at Buchholz. And I look for them to do some great things this year as well. So we're excited about our chances. I mean, our kids have proven they can go on the road. There's nothing that they're going to see this playoff season that they haven't seen either in Cincinnati, Key West, or up in Jacksonville at Rains. We've done it all. So they're battle tested, and now it's up to us as a coaching staff to put them in the right position and see if we can make another run at this thing.
John, appreciate it. All the best to your grandson and all the family there. All the thoughts and prayers to them. I know you've had a little good news about that this week, so we pray that that will continue.
Well, we need it to. It's got there yesterday. today to visit him and Sheen's, and it's a struggle, and it'll be an ongoing process, and nothing that's going to happen overnight. But I appreciate that, and a lot of people have shown their concern and prayers for Avery up in Shands.
Likewise from here too. Thank you, John. Good luck this weekend. We'll talk to you when you get back. All right.
Guys, always a pleasure. Good luck to y'all as well. Thanks, Shane.
The great JB3 right there. So thanks, John. All right. Want to get a little high school football in there. You have a heart for that, Shane.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let me get you out of here to some other things. But tell me the good stuff that you see ahead for this team, and tell me what concerns you the most about this team, Florida Gators.
Well, my concerns of what I've been talking about the last 3 or 4 weeks is defense. Offensively, we play pretty well in my eyes. I mean, you can always play better. People they complain about everything. I was like, has there ever been a team that scored every possession? No, it doesn't really happen. You're gonna have some mistakes or what have you. So, look, buddy, you got 2 more games to go play. You got to go compete. Anything can happen. You see upsets in college football all the time. It's going to be tough in Missouri, but we get Florida State at home at night. And like I told you, if you go back and you watch their games, they really haven't played well since that first game against LSU.
Yeah, you'll see if that would be the time to do it, because getting a win there and getting a 6th win and getting bowl eligible, beating FSU wouldn't be a great year. It'd certainly be a better year than they're having right now, and it'd be a way to. The one way they could salvage something out of the season would be that, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, you just got to stay positive. You can't worry about anything. There's nothing you can do. People get so upset when kids decommit or whatever. You can only sign 25 guys each year, out of high school. So if a kid decides to go somewhere else, all you got to do is say he must be getting paid a lot of money to go there, because that's pretty much what it's all about nowadays.
Yeah.
It's no different than, I'd say it in your job. If somebody else offered you more money, you're probably going to go.
That's how it is. Your final thoughts on the transfer portal and the NIL as we know it right now?
I don't have a problem with the transfer portal. I'm not a fan of the NIL, never will be, because it's not what it was intended for. I am for what it was intended for, name, image, and likeness, but not buying players. But that's where we are today, and just got to deal with it.
All right, Shane, any upsets you see in your forecast for the weekend? Anybody you like, any teams that you think might scare some folks?
I'll be honest with you, buddy. I have not even looked at the schedule. It's only Monday. I'll do my picks with Jason on my show on Friday. I couldn't even tell you who's playing who, really.
I guess I have to shed my wisdom on you tomorrow morning on the show, right?
There you go. Absolutely.
Pot up with Matthews. Join us tomorrow morning. Thank you, Shane. Have a good night. Appreciate it. All right. Shane Matthews. All right, folks, we're going to take a little break, and we got Franz Beard around the corner joining the program. Stay tuned. He's bound to shake and bake it a little bit. You know that. So we'll hear from Franz Beard next right here on The Buddy Martin Show. Jeffrey Meldon. Jeffrey, you do a show where you ask a lot of questions. I've got one for you right now, okay, regarding how do you know whether your case is being handled right and what to do about it. In medicine, you can get a second opinion if you're not satisfied with the doctor's opinion that they have. And do you have that in law? Can you do that with lawyers?
Yeah, Buddy. As a matter of fact, we get quite a few calls from folks that have signed up, particularly with the big box law firms, that they do a hell of a good job of putting ads on TV, but after that, they don't really measure up to the way we try to create a client experience that's outstanding. And we're always willing to review a case and give a second opinion, just like with a doctor, because not all law firms are created equal.
I guess that's the normal thing. Just go to Meldon Law, Google it, and find out, and just give them a call. And like you say, if you come in, you get to see a Meldon. You don't get shuffled off to somebody else. You get to see a Meldon, and that's good to know, because a lot of people don't know how to do that stuff, like me. And maybe you can coach us through. So Meldon Law, they won't back down. They will take your questions about your case if you have a question.
Yes, whether it's a new case or an existing case, give us a call. We'd be glad to go over it with you. There's no charge to review your case with you, and a lot of times it makes good sense just to get a second opinion.
Good stuff from Meldon Law. They don't back down, but they will give you a second opinion. All right, Jeffrey Meldon, Meldon Law. These are where you want to go if you have any questions about I'm still thinking I might call him about the soup can. For those of you who haven't heard, I had kind of a collision with a soup can, and I came out the loser, 4 stitches. Shoot, I mean, that woman who won so much millions of dollars for hot coffee, wouldn't you think I'd have a chance of getting something for being out of work for a day with that? It was dicey. All right, I'm going to send the link to Franz Beard, who says he doesn't have one, which, I would think by now he would figure that out, but perhaps not. My bad. So let's try this again. One more time. He says he's not getting it. This is what you have to do when you're producing your own show. You have to do all the grunt work. We're going to do this. We're going to hear a link from Billy Napier. Come back, I'll have Franz Beard.
I think obviously not the result we wanted in Baton Rouge Saturday night. And look, we're talking the last couple of weeks here. Reality is we're talking about one more stop. We're talking about, finishing one more possession. Certainly had our opportunities. And there are things that we can do better. I want to compliment the players relative to the state of mind, the mindset. I thought we were ready to compete, in particular early. I think you guys will have more questions about that. But reality is here, we got to turn the page really quickly and get ready for a good Missouri team. Sometimes when you're going through, trials, troubles, hardship, adversity, whatever you want to call it, just talking with the staff and the players earlier today, I think it's critical at this point that, especially for our young players, that we are a good example. I was talking to the veterans in the accountability group. Don't avoid it. I think you got to lean into it. You got to attack it. You got to embrace hard. I think there's an element here to any great competitor, anyone that's had success in life. They can tell you their story and they can talk about the things that they experienced that were challenges. It's essentially training. Much like you train strength, train endurance. You're not born tough. You're not born with endurance. You're not born. And I think it's a test of your faith that allows you to develop faith. I do think it's a test of your character. It allows you to develop character. And I think challenge presents opportunity. It's important that we are action-oriented, solution-oriented for our players, and you go make it happen. I think sometimes you get in these situations, you don't want to let things happen, you want to make it happen. So got a model for our young people. Every role matters. We use the terms make the difference, make an impact, and be the difference. And those are two that are more important than ever right now. So Mizzou's got a good football team. They play complementary football. Eli's done a nice job there in year 4. They've gotten incrementally better. They're getting good quarterback play. They've got some significant matchup players like most teams in our league do. And, I do think they've been opportunistic and they've won games. I think LSU and Georgia being their 2 losses. So good football team, tough place to play.
Talk to friends. I think you found us now. Let's go grab all the Franz Beard, the Iron Duke. Evening to you, friends.
Good evening. I had to use my phone. It for some reason wouldn't connect with my computer. So
Cox must have got a hold of it, whatever. So, well, anyway, that was the press coverage. You had a question today for Billy. You want to share it with us? I don't have that on tape.
Yeah, I asked him about is the way the portal is set up now, does it force you to re-recruit your own players? And he gave a pretty lengthy answer, although he basically said, we got it pretty good here, but he did say there's going to be attrition, and there is going to be. You do the numbers, buddy. They got 84 on scholarship right now, with the Jordan Herman leaving. That leaves them with 84. They got 20 kids who are committed, and I don't think they're going to have much more. I don't think they're going to lose many more out of that. I think they'll make that up there. I think the goal is to sign 22 as it is. So I think they're going to get their 22. So 84 and 22 is 106. They've got maybe 5 guys who will have used up their eligibility. So let's subtract that. That's 5. That's 101. So you're still 16 over the limit, and you haven't gotten a single transfer in. And, buddy, as you know as well as I do, they better bring in some transfers, particularly on the line of scrimmage. Yeah. And if they don't, it's going to be a very difficult year for them next year, particularly with a schedule that I think is probably, at the very worst, the third toughest in the country. Could be considered the number 1 toughest schedule in the country. So they're going to have help. They got to have linemen. They just don't have enough linemen right now. And because it's a developmental position, you don't have time to wait for these guys. You look at these high school kids. How many high school kids have we known let's just go back to the Spurrier years. How many freshman offensive linemen played during the Spurrier years? I can think of 2. And they played the same year, Reggie Green and Jason Odom.
That was after the FSU game loss, right? They played they were missing 2 tackles in that game.
No, that was actually
they started 2 freshmen that year.
That was the 1992 season. That was Shane's senior year.
I thought he started 2 freshmen. I know he started 1 after they got beat by FSU. They played in the Sugar Bowl. When they got beat anyway, I don't know. You know history better than I do. All right, so go ahead. So what were you saying? You think there's going to be some activity? Obviously, got to get moving.
I think they're going to bring in at least. They've got to bring in at least 15 kids. I think they got to bring in 5 offensive linemen, 5 defensive linemen, and I think they've got to find 5 other guys that can play at various positions. Scott Strickland made a comment today that was very interesting. He said 35% of all the defensive snaps have been taken by true freshmen this year. The next closest in the country is 24%. That's astounding that they're having to play that many true freshmen on defense. And that opened my eyes to one thing. We've been very critical about the defense, but this is a grown man's league, and Florida's trying to play against grown men with kids. That's a very difficult thing to do. Nobody's using that as an excuse. That's just reality. It's kind of like, I don't know if you remember the year that BYU won the national championship in 1984. Florida had the best team in the country, but couldn't play. BYU won it, beat a mediocre Michigan team in the Holiday Bowl. But what stood out about that BYU team, almost all of their linemen had been on Mormon missions. Almost all of their linemen were 24 and 25-year-old grown men with wives and families. And they were playing against a bunch of kids. It does make a difference when you have grown men playing. And this is a grown men's league. They're at the Georgia game, at the Florida-Georgia game, for example, watching Florida next to the Georgia kids before the game. Georgia does look like grown men. Florida looks bigger than they did the year before. But Georgia looks like grown men.
And faster.
And that's what and they're playing with grown men. They're faster, they're more experienced, etc. And this is what we're chasing. You look at Alabama; they look like grown men. And this is what you got to get to win in this league. You got to have grown men.
Yeah. Well, Billy's got to do something. There's a lot of heat on coaches now. We saw it happen today with the onslaught of the revolving door of coaches, and we know. Kind of surprised Arnett didn't get a full season to finish up. Lost friends there someplace. Surprised that happened. Also not surprised that Jimbo was fired, because we kind of saw it coming. But it's shocking when they throw out an amount of money like that, $76 million to fire a coach, pay him to not coach, and that's more than some budgets were about 20 years ago. But obviously, out there in the oil wells of Texas, money doesn't matter. In a sense, it's kind of what's messing up football is the money, money, money. Everybody wants to get their payday. Players want to get their payday. Alumni don't want to lose. They want to fire coaches. It's just got this whole thing so messed up. I suggest, Franz, we push back for a second and say, okay, let's reevaluate. What are we in this for? We've seen a lot of football over the years, Franz. You're in hundreds and hundreds of games. And not everybody can win the national championship. You have to say, what am I in this for? If I'm in it just to win a national championship, you might as well go do something else. Bet your money at the horse track, because there's a lot of luck that goes in that as well. So I propose in my column today that take out of the season what you wanted. Obviously, you're not going to like having a third straight losing season. You're not going to like having a losing year this year, not going to a bowl. But it is what it is, and you're going to have to lower your expectations as a Gator fan to get to where you want to be. If you don't, you'll be crazy by the time they finally start winning again. I would say if it would do any good to fire Billy Napier, fire him. I don't think it would. Who are you going to hire in his place? I got a list of people. Maybe you got a list of people. But the fact is, we know you can't keep having these disposable coaches and have any success in our program. So where are we now, Franz? And where are we now with this whole coaching thing? I mean, again, we've had 4 fired this year. We'll probably have another 5 or 6. Sam Pittman's probably one of the next ones to go. What has happened to this whole crazy thing with college football?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not going to blame the coaches for getting paid what they get paid. Nobody holds a gun to their head and says, you have to take $10 million a year in a 10-year contract. Kirby Smart's buyout is $92 million, buddy. And it makes Nick Saban seem like a relative bargain because his buyout's only $44 million. Yeah. But you look at this, nobody's holding a gun to their head. It's these athletic directors who are flush with cash, particularly you take the athletic directors in the SEC and the Big Ten. Mel Tucker got a $95 million 10-year contract. My goodness.
How'd that work out?
How did that work out? And here's what's going to happen. I've heard people say, well, we got to have a salary cap. We got to have this or whatever. No, we don't. What we need in the worst way, and I hate to say it like this because we're talking about people's livelihoods, just the same with NIL. We need some crashing and burning in the worst way, because that's the only way you're going to get common sense injected back into this equation. Because if several high-profile head coaches crash and burn, and suddenly the school is on the hook for $65-70 million, in the case of Jimbo, $77.6 million, they're going to think again before they're going to offer those kind of contracts. Again, I don't blame the coaches. If somebody, buddy, I realize I couldn't touch your salary, but if I came to you and offered you $1 million a year, you'd probably be insulted that I was that low. But at least I'm offering you that money, and I'm not holding a gun to your head and saying you got to take it, because I know you wouldn't, because it's way too low. You make more money than that. But The athletic directors are the ones that are doing it. The schools are doing it. The boosters are doing it. It's a different situation, obviously, at Texas A&M because only God and the Longhorns have more money than the Aggies. They're nuts. They'll spend whatever it takes. It's going to take, think about this, for the Aggies to pay off the assistant coaches and Jimbo and bring in a new coach and new assistants, it's going to cost them $150 million.
Chump change.
And you want to know something? They'll call 10 boosters up and they'll write them a check.
They said today that they were paying everything out of Jimbo was going to come right out of the budget and also that 12th Man Foundation. So there's no booster money particularly coming in there. All right, Franz, I got an assignment for you here. I want to do a quick read on Titan MRI. When we come back, I want you to take this virtual situation. Florida has just fired Billy Napier. Not really, folks. You got to go hire somebody tomorrow. You have up to $10 million a year. Who are you going to go get? All right? Think about it. We'll come back after this little commercial. Read from Titan MRI, good friends of Titan MRI. Worth the short drive to Gainesville. No insurance. There's no problem. You can pay with cash or card. Same day scheduling available if you'd like to have it. You can start feeling better today because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting Gainesville from Ocala, Marion County, and the Villages, among other places. That's TitanMRI.com. Franz Beard's committee of one. He has a checkbook of $100 million to hire a coach. Who do you go after, Franz?
Dan Lanning at Oregon. The reason, he's got the connections to Kirby. He's got the connections to Nick. He knows the South. He knows how to recruit the South. And as he has shown at Oregon, he knows how to hire somebody to run an offense that'll get the job done. And I think he would be my number one choice. My number two choice probably would surprise you. And that would be to get Lance Leipold, who's at Kansas. Won 6 Division III championships. He won at Buffalo, where nobody wins, and he's at Kansas, which is one of the worst programs ever, up until the time he took over. My third choice would be from the same state, and that is Chris Kleeman, who was the coach at North Dakota State before coming to Kansas State, and a tremendous football coach. I want a coach that understands how to win championships. I really do. I go back to something Dean Smith once told me. Dean knew a couple things about winning championships, and as you know, but he said that the first thing he looked at was when he recruited players was how many championships did they win in high school. He said he wanted guys that knew how to win, that when they came to North Carolina, winning was the first and foremost thing on their minds. And they did not, because those are the kind of guys that are going to turn into be great teammates because they already know how to win and they expect nothing less. I think it's true of coaches too. I want a coach that knows how to win championships. And you know, I'm not going to knock Will Muschamp. I'm not going to knock Dan Mullen. I'm not going to knock Old Yeller. But, you know, they were part of championships as assistant coaches. I want a coach that's won them as a head coach. You know, Urban Meyer was a perfect choice here. He had won a couple of Mountain West championships when he was at Utah. Steve Spurrier had just won the ACC championship at Duke University when he came here. Those guys had won championships. What did Ron Zook? How many championships had Ron Zook won as a head coach? Well, he'd never been a head coach. How many had Will Muschamp won? Well, he'd never been a head coach. How many had Jim McElwain won? None. How many did Dan Mullen won? None. I want a coach with a championship pedigree. It's great that you may have had have won championships as an assistant coach, but I want to see that you've won them as a head coach too.
All right, good point.
I think winning begets winning.
All right, good point. Let's go now to the next question, which is Billy's security. I can't see anything that would happen unless he got blown out badly the last 2 games that would keep him from coming back as coach, even though there's a kind of a let's fire everybody mentality now in college football. I think he believed the guy can coach. I do. The guy can coach. He's made progress. Is it enough, though? We saw a guy get fired today who hadn't even finished the season his first year. Will Florida give him enough leash? Can he get it done? I personally think if he's given time, he will. I'm not sure he's going to have time. They're going to have 2 years, friends.
I think he's good through 2025, period. I do not think that. I think, and listening to Scott Strickland talk today, I'm more convinced than ever before. Scott came up and talked to a group of us who were there waiting for Billy Napier, and he was talking and was very candid. And I think it's safe to say that Billy Napier will have the 2024 season and the 2025 season. And I say that because Billy Napier did not create the problems that he has. He inherited them. And he inherited them because the 3 previous coaches hadn't gotten the job done. I'll throw 2 things at you, and you know the answer to them already. How many coaches have been at the University of Georgia in this decade, in this century? 2. Mark Richt and Kirby Smart. How many coaches have been at Alabama since the year 2007? 1. Florida is on its 5th since 2007. How many coaches have been at LSU? Not too many. I mean, Florida keeps having to recycle the whole program, start all over again, and it doesn't work. And fans, you've got to have a measure of patience with this because, believe me, I mean, I know how everybody wants to win right now. Nobody wants to lose. And trust me, nobody wants to win right now more than Billy Napier wants to win right now. But here's the problem. You inherit all these issues. Will Muschamp didn't recruit offensive players worth a darn. So guess what? When Jim McElwain comes in, who didn't recruit well at all, the program is slid back. And when McElwain runs out of the NFL defense, left behind by Will Muschamp, the program is in a mess. Dan Mullen comes in, and he did well with the players that were left behind, and he got a couple of pretty good transfers, like John Greenard coming in, like Van Jefferson coming in. But here's the other thing. The program was in bad shape because Scott Strickland took a look and said, holy cow, the cupboard is going to be bare because we have not recruited well enough to sustain the program. That's why Dan Mullen's not the football coach here right now. Dan Mullen thought you could recruit the same guys that you recruit to win 7 and 8 ball games at Mississippi State, and you could recruit them and win 11 and 12 games at Florida because of the fact that it's Florida. Well, guess what? You can't.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Good point. By the way, there's some talk, I don't know how legit it is, that Mullen is talking about going back to Mississippi State. I don't know if that's true or not.
I can tell you right now, it won't be Mississippi State, but I'll tell you where it very well may be.
All right.
And that's the University of Arkansas.
Okay.
Sam Pittman is dead man walking.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
He's a goner. And as I have been told by a couple of people who I think know the situation pretty well, They're going to let him beat Florida International and let him have his blaze of glory moment, and then he's going to be fired. You know, they let Jimbo go out on a win at Texas. They knew they were going to fire Jimbo last week. They knew they were going to fire him ahead of time. They let him go out on a win. Some might say that's dumb. Some might say that's a classy thing to do. But whatever the motivation behind it, they did it. And as it is, Jimbo Fisher goes out there and his last game coaching at Texas A&M is a win. So that's what I'm told that they're going to do there with Sam Pittman.
Who's A&M going to get as a coach?
There's going to be a lot of sentiment to go after
Lane Kiffin.
I don't think so. Lane and Russ Bjork had some clashes when Russ Bjork had him at Ole Miss, and I don't think Lane particularly wants to go to A&M. I think if Lane Kiffin had been offered the Florida job, he would have crawled backwards to get it. I'm told that he really didn't want the Auburn job as much as Auburn wanted him. That he's content to stay where he is unless it's the job that he perceives is the right job. Florida, I understand he would think so. As I understand, he would go to Alabama. And as I understand, he would also go to LSU if that job were to come open. But very few other places that he would go. The guy, here's the two names that I think are going to come up big for them. One of them is Mike Elko, and people are going to say,
love Mike Elko. I love him. I think he's one of my list, hot list.
Yeah, I think that they're going to say, kind of like what they did with Spurrier. If you can win at Duke, you can certainly win big here. The guy I think that they're going to really want, though, is go back to Dan Lanning. And Dan Lanning has the pedigree with both Kirby and with Nick Saban, proven recruiter. And I love what he's done with the Oregon offense. I don't know if you watch Oregon play, but they have a brilliantly designed offense.
Good QB too.
My dark horse choice for A&M, and this is strictly a dark horse choice, would be Kalen DeBoer, who is the coach at Washington. Runs an exciting offense, has a pretty good defense as well. He came up as a defensive guy. My question with him, though, is could he recruit in the South the way you need to? I don't know. But I think that I think Dan Lanning and Elko are going to be their top two choices. Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State may go with a guy like Jeff Levy, who is the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. I don't think. Now, I'll tell you a guy that would make sense for Mississippi State, but I don't think they do it because of where he's coaching. And I think Charlie Wise Jr., who calls the plays for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, I think would be an extraordinary choice for them. But I think that they want to go with somebody with a little more experience, a little bit older. Jeff Levy would be a guy that I think they would go very, very strongly after. The other guy, I think they would like a guy like Jeff Traylor, who's the coach at Texas San Antonio, but I don't think Jeff Traylor would want them. And this is one of these situations. We got an expanded conference with 16 teams now because you're going to add Oklahoma and Texas. If I'm a head coach already at an established program, for the same reason why would I, for example, if I'm Chris Kleeman, who's at K-State, Texas and Oklahoma are about to leave the Big 12. That means that at K-State, I have a real shot at winning championships. With those two gone, I may be the best. I probably may be the best program going, And I've got a coach that's won 5 national championships in his past, even though it was Division I AA. Why would I go from a place that probably has an accelerated path to the college football playoff to Starkville, Mississippi, which is a dead end, where Dan Mullen was crazy to have ever left there because he could have been like Mike Stoops. Go to the Music City Bowl every year and they'll put a statue of you outside the stadium. You go to a place, you go someplace else, they're going to expect you to win championships. And, some guys are ill-equipped to do it. I think that Mississippi State's got to lower its expectations. If they're going to go for a head coach, go for a guy like Willie Fritz at Tulane.
Good year for Willie.
Who can win everywhere. Now, I don't think you can win championships at Mississippi State. You can in baseball. You can in baseball, that's for sure. But I don't think you can in football.
The great Iron Duke, Franz Beard. Read him on GatorbaitMedia.com. Check out his column. It's the best thing we got on the site. He's read by thousands of people. And if you're missing it, you need to go to GatorbaitMedia.com and find out how to get it. Franz, I have one more question for you. Think about the days that Jaden Daniels and Cody Schrader had. 2 fantastic days. Who had the better day, Franz? I come back from this commercial. You can answer this. And they got to face, obviously, Cody Schrader this Saturday in Columbia. With a proven reputation as a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility, Brinstar Medical Research brings cutting-edge clinical research trials to Ocala in the area. Things like Alzheimer's, psoriasis, dementia, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia, along with many other conditions that affect us right here in this community. You can take part in one of these particular studies by going to brinstar.net and find out how you can take part. In some cases, compensation made for time and travel. Since their inception in 1998, Brinstar has participated in more than 700 clinical trials, continues to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. Brinstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Follow Take from Franz Beard tonight on the Buddy Martin Show, Melon Law Monday. 2 terrific performances. No one's ever done what, both of them for that matter. Jaden Daniels was just unbelievable, and Florida's defense looked silly. But what a day. Cody Schrader, the first player, is 10th best player with a 200-yard rushing day and 100 yards receiving. What a performance you put on, Franz. Which one do you like the best?
The best story is Cody Schrader. The best performance is Jaden Daniels. Okay. Jaden Daniels, I think, had his Heisman moment. Just like Tebow at South Carolina in 2007 when he ran for 5, threw for 2. That was a Heisman moment. And it made people realize that, okay, we're talking the best player, not the player with the best record. I think Jaden Daniels had his Heisman moment Saturday. And this is not taking anything away from Cody Schrader. He is the best story, no question. I don't mean to sound racist, but how many little white guys do you see running the football who run like this guy and run with power, run with speed, and started out, nobody wanted him because I think, I think he didn't look big enough. He didn't look fast enough. He didn't look a lot. But, it's kind of like his coach, Eli Drinkwitz, said afterward. He said, this guy's got a heart as big as the state of Missouri. And that's a great story. My goodness. Goes to Division II, makes Division II All-America, walks on at Missouri and earns a scholarship. And then has, he's got leading the SEC in rushing right now, 1,127 yards. If Jaden Daniels wasn't having the season he's having, Cody Schrader would be the overwhelming choice to be the SEC Player of the Year. But what a tremendous, tremendous story. And by all things I've read, just an absolute gem of a kid. The kind of kid that if you had a son, you'd want him to be like this guy. We don't have too many Boy Scouts remaining in the game anymore, as you know, buddy. It's one of the things that's bothersome for a lot of people, me included, and I know you included as well. But this guy's a Boy Scout, but he's a tough kid. He's a sweetheart of a kid. He loves his teammates. And I don't know, did you see those big offensive linemen coming down there and hugging him, throwing him up in the air and everything on their shoulders?
Yeah.
And he is so loved by his teammates. And the reason I read that he's so loved by his teammates is this is a guy that makes it a point to be the best teammate. And, I've heard that said throughout the years. And one of the things that, as you know, Dean Smith's one of the people that I've always admired, but I heard it from John Wooden too, that the fastest way to get on the court, of course, she is great talent. Of course, it helps, but a lot of people have great talent. The guy that Coach Wooden looked for, the guy that Coach Smith looked for, they looked for the guy that was the best teammate. That's why Michael Jordan got on the court as a freshman. I mean, everybody knew he had the talent, but the reason he was on the court was he made it a point to be the best teammate possible. And that's why he deferred, even though he's more talented than everybody else, even when he was a freshman, he deferred to his teammates, and he was a great teammate. And this is a guy that is a great teammate. It's a beautiful story. And I wish beautiful. I hope this kid gets drafted high and has a chance to live out his dream of playing in the National Football League. I wish him nothing but success, but I hope against Florida, he has 33 carries for 66 yards and the Gators win.
Yeah, it's a great story, as you say. Right now, and the game needs this kind of story. I'm concerned. I really am concerned today. Talked about it earlier I know we've talked about how the free market can decide all this stuff, and NIL money will eventually correct itself. But it's kind of a sad day when people think they can buy a championship. Obviously, Texas A&M couldn't. They just wasted $76 million more for a guy not to coach. I hated that a guy like Sam Pittman can't coach in this league because he's the right kind of guy. He's going to lose his job. Really good people are being chewed up. And you said earlier, you don't blame the coaches. I don't blame the coaches either. I'd go for it too if the money was there. But the status of things, I've kind of closed my eyes to this the last year and a half ago, thinking that we're making a better game. As we sit here tonight, I'm not so sure we have a better game, friends.
I know we don't. We're trying to adopt an NFL model, for example, by on the field, by cutting time off the clock. I never heard anybody complaining about
Messed up the game when they did that too, by the way.
It has. Do you think people really are complaining that the clock stopped after that? It gave you a chance. The clock stops after a first down. Now it gives you a chance to catch your breath. You've been yelling and screaming and doing all this other stuff. Nobody was complaining about it. The only one that was complaining about it was the networks because they wanted to get to that next broadcast. And of course, the colleges, and the conferences are beholden to the networks. It's all about the greed has gotten the best of the game. And it's unfortunate that it has. I look at what's going on up at Michigan, I'm not a big Jim Harbaugh fan, but I will defend Jim Harbaugh with this. He has not had due process. And because he has not had due process, I think that it's a travesty. And here's the other thing. Jim Harbaugh is being crucified on this, not because he did something unique. It's just he did it better than everybody else and he got caught. Everybody else, he turned cheating into professional level while everybody else was cheating and trying to do it as amateurs. Yeah. Guess what? The pro won and then he got caught. That's the only thing that happened there. But I look at stuff like this and the game is not better.
It's not better.
The integrity is gone from the game. We have too many places and and I don't dislike Kirby. He's even though he's at Georgia, everybody I know who knows him says he's a great guy. Everybody says he is a great guy, that he's a tremendous friend.
Spurrier likes him a lot. Steve Spurrier likes him a lot.
Yeah, everybody I know loves him. But look what's going on up at Georgia. I mean, it's a rogues gallery. I've said for a long time, the best teams are made up of 2 or 3 Boy Scouts and the rest of them are psychopaths. And that's what he's got up there. He's got a bunch of borderline psychopaths. He's got just enough Boy Scouts to lead the team. But the integrity's gone. And it makes me sad that it's gone. It makes me sad that we run good people out of a game, in fact, because we're not winning enough games or whatever like that, and people are overlooking the fact that I'll give you a good example. I don't know any, of a coach out there that cares more about his players than Billy Napier, except maybe this guy up at Alabama who's pretty good. This Nick somebody or another. We look at Nick, and Nick gets this reputation of being surly and all this other stuff. You ask the kids who play for him, and they will run through walls for the man because they know that he gives a rat's ass about them personally. And I'm at this point in time where I like these coaches that do that.
I'm with you on that.
And I mean, they may not be my favorite school. The only team that ever mattered to me really and truly is the Florida Gators. Mm-hmm. But I admire the coaches at these other schools who really do preach it to the kids that, okay, you've got to do it the right way. You got to come here and get a degree. Nick Saban pays for kids to come back and go to school and finish school. I like that. I think that's a great idea. I'd like to see it to where, okay, if you're making more than $5 million a year, that you got to take 10% of your salary and put it aside so that the kids who didn't graduate have the money to come back and finish school. Yeah. I think that would be a smart thing to do. And I don't know why we're not doing that.
Well, it's a good discussion. We have a lot of people on the night listening to you, friends, and we want to give them all we can give them, but we're winding it down. I'm speaking to the Gainesville Quarterback Club tomorrow night. No big deal. I couldn't get anybody else, obviously. And I think I'm going to change it up a little bit. I don't want to talk about the NIL. I don't want to talk about who's playing right guard. I don't want to talk about what transfer portal. I want to talk about something else. I thought, what I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about what the University of Florida has meant to me. You and I, especially, have a stake in this. It's all we've ever really known. I've traveled and I've gone to other jobs, and you have too. But the team that always mattered to me was the Florida Gators. Now, my job as a journalist, I can't always say that. But I just want to pause and think for a second. We should be enjoying this team for what it is. If you have to lower your expectations for a while, lower them. But I owe a debt of gratitude to the University of Florida for my education, for great professors like Hugh Cunningham and Buddy Davis, etc. As you know, I met my wife there. I was married her after college, and it's been everything to me. And as a writer, I don't know how many words we've written. I would say several million of books and articles. And I love writing about the University of Florida. It's a tough time to be a Gator right now. So my advice to Gator fans, and you can chime in and close it out with this, pick out what you like about this team this year, beating Tennessee, whatever it was. Enjoy it. Be a little patient. Try to enjoy this team for as long as you got them until they get better. And then you'll find the real true meaning of being a college football fan.
I would say this. Don't let your desire to win championships, because I was, buddy, you and I, how many years did we go
without one?
Without one. My dad and my grandfather went to their graves without the Gators winning an SEC title. Mm-hmm. And my dad was there in Jacksonville when it was 75-0, and Wally Butts had had Flatfoot Frankie and Charlie Trippi in the game until a minute left in the game, running up the score on Florida's depleted team. Florida had a bunch of guys that were 4Fs who or too young to go to World War II, and they had players from all Americans from all over the country coming to Georgia because they had one of the great ROTC schools there. My dad was there at that game, 75-0. He hated Georgia with all his passion, but longed to see the Gators win an SEC. My grandfather, one of his closest friends was a guy named James Van Fleet. General Van Fleet, the only American general ever to have a statue of him in 3 different foreign countries. That's how revered he is. That was one of my grandfather's best friends. My grandfather's first cousin was Dale Van Sickle, the first Florida All-American. And my Florida roots run deep. But it's, I got to tell you something. There is something about this school. It is, there is something about being a Gator. There is something about being able to go anywhere in the world and you see somebody with a Florida t-shirt on and you say, "Go Gators," and they chomp you back. And I've been to 62 countries around the world, and there are very few of them I've been to that I haven't been able to say, "Go Gators," and get chomped in return. Very few of them. This place is special. Enjoy this place. Enjoy the fact that we got a coach that does have a measure of integrity and who demands integrity from his kids. Enjoy that. The wins will come, but be patient and enjoy it. And enjoy it because this is a guy that I think represents all the things that the University of Florida should have. And I think he's got it.
Well said, Francis. Very good job tonight. We have a large crowd on here who's waiting for us to wrap up tonight, I guess. Thank you, folks, for hanging in there. All of you. And we'll be back tomorrow night. Brenda Martin will be joining us. We'll have David Whitley on. And we'll do our thing. We do 5 nights a week here. Franz Beard's here a couple of times a week. Francis, good job, buddy. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, buddy.
All right, thanks. Good night, folks.